Oregon takes down Michigan. Joe, your thoughts on the game?
We were reminded again, the same talking point happens with Oregon every single week, Blake, that they face off with a mid to low level Big Ten team. They're waxing everybody. They're smoking everybody. This was a game where every single drive, every single quarter, you just knew that Oregon had control of the football game. There wasn't a second that you watched this where you thought, is Michigan going to pull this thing out? No. Same thing with Illinois the week prior. They are at their highest point, and they are continuing to get better every single week. Dylan Gabriel had one of his least efficient games of the year, which is crazy to say because he still threw for 294 yards. He had a long, nice rushing touchdown where he had a wide open lane, and we forget sometimes how good of an athlete he is. Jordan James, big game, 117 yards as well. It is easy to continue to lean on Oregon, and I'll repeat the same statement from last week, Blake. They are the most balanced, complete team in college football right now. Every single position group on this team, minus the injury that they just suffered to Tez Johnson, every single position group is at an average to above average level. We can't say the same thing with Ohio State. We can't say the same thing with Georgia. We can't say the same thing with Texas. Their ability to play consistent, balanced football will push them as far as they can take themselves.
And look, to the point that you're making about they're the most balanced team, I don't disagree with that, but they're definitely the most balanced offensive team right now. Meaning, when they threw the fade route, the absolute dime of a throw that Dylan Gabriel put on Evan Stewart, okay, the only touchdown throwing that he had in the game, Joe, they loaded the box. Michigan loaded the box and said, we're going to give you man-on-man coverage and see what you're going to do with it, and they scored. I mean, they decided – in the second half to not let Dylan beat him through the air and score. They ran all over him. I mean, they're just a really well-coached, well-put-together team. They were 10 for 15 on third down. They dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides. I mean, the only blunder I would say that they had was the punt return that got fumbled, then Michigan scored a touchdown, I guess. But, man, they're just so dynamic in everything that they do. I will say this, just to throw it out there. I did think Michigan ran the ball efficiently in some areas. Edwards had 52 yards. Orji had 52 yards. But at some point, I'm just like, yeah, okay. I mean, that's what Michigan does, though, man. I mean, they dominated throughout the game in every single facet and every single level. And this Oregon team's just on another level right now, Joe.
A completely other level. And I honestly, I feel like a lot of folks, I mean, there's certainly – plenty of people giving him love, but Oregon has been a little bit on the outside, I think, of the national perspective because of all these other big games that have been happening. They haven't had a premier game since the Ohio State game. They need to be talked about more. They need to be recognized more of why they're the number one team. And right now, plainly, I think that when I do my power rankings this week, I'm going to move them back up to number one, especially with the way that Ohio State played. It kind of makes me reconsider. I was too low on Ohio State, that they deserve to move up, and it re-solidifies how great of a win that was over Ohio State. There's no reason to doubt this Oregon team, and the only thing that catches up to them. Actually, wait, here's one thing I want to bring up before we move on and maybe we talk about the next game. We spoke at the beginning of this show about James Franklin and those inabilities to win big games. And our biggest talking point at the beginning of this season with Dan Lanning was, is he going to be able to get the job done? Is he going to be able to win the big games? Is he going to be able to finish the season? They haven't faltered. You know, they haven't had that low light game since the big high that they had. James Franklin, other coaches that can't get over that hump can't say the same thing. It really does feel like Dan Lanning is starting to ascend in that upper category of coaches. And who knows how the season's going to finish. Maybe they do win a national championship. Maybe they do win the Big Ten championship game. If that's what he needs to get in that upper category, it at least feels like he's getting closer and closer to it.
Georgia West, without the turnovers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're Georgia West. They're Georgia West without the turnovers. What are they doing? I mean, I don't think Kirby doesn't want to run the football. You know, like recruiting, dominating both lines of scrimmage, experienced quarterback leading them to where they need to go. good enough play callers like, hey, bro, are you going to play man-to-man coverage on Evan Stewart? Good luck. Here comes a fade route, touchdown, bang. I mean, like it Joe, there's nothing that you can walk away with them right now and not say that's impressive. All right,
Yeah.
like that's really nice. So Oregon gets a big win. You're right. I think not a lot of people are talking about them. I mean, you got bigger games on, but you got a lot of big games on, ranked versus ranked matchups. So you're right. I get what you're saying, but I mean, I was watching them. I mean, the throw to Evan Stewart was insane. I don't care what anybody tells.
Great ball.
Gabriel.
BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts.